Alright, recording attempt number 3. Trying to cram a lot of information into this, and it's not very easy. Alright, so I have this graphic up on the top left of the screen that shows the optimal analog positions for building speed in the air. This is for full influence, and this one here is for limited influence. The distinction between those two is effectively how you entered the air and whether or not you press the R button while in the air. So if you jump into the air without pressing R, you'll be in full influence and you can move in any direction. And if you jump into the air and press the R button, you can move forwards, but you can't move backwards. Hence the image up there. This one is kind of more relevant most of the time. Well, not really actually. They're both equally relevant, but I'm gonna leave the other one up. So, unfortunately this input display that I'm using lags my computer, so my Dolphin's running at like 50 FPS instead of 60, and there's nothing I can really do about that. We're just gonna try to make this work anyway. So, first thing to note, when you jump in the air, your jump state changes to jump state 1, and it stays that way for 14 frames. And during this time you accelerate upwards. As you can see, my Z speed is incredibly low, just 1.6, and each frame it accelerates at a constant rate until it changes to jump state 2, at which point you decelerate at a constant rate. And that's how jumps work in this game. So 14 frames of acceleration, and then deceleration until you land, essentially. That's on a grounded jump in particular. Space jumps actually only have 7 frames of acceleration, so half the length. But they have a higher starting speed. As you can see here, it's 9.8 instead of, what is it, like 0.8? Yeah, 0.83. So because space jumps have less acceleration frames, they just start at a higher point, such that you max out around the same Z speed upwards. So, when you're accelerating in jump state 1, the first 14 frames of a jump, you want to be holding the L button. And the reason why is because as you're accelerating in jump state 1, vertically, you actually lose speed horizontally. So I'll demonstrate that here with just frame advance so it's really obvious. So I'm going to go into jump state 1 and then release the L button. And you'll see my horizontal speed dips all the way down to 6.2, which is like atrocious. That's half the speed of if you're holding L almost, which is 11 point whatever. Sometimes it's 6, sometimes it's 8. It depends on the angle you're walking at. It's very negligible non-TAS, so we're not going to worry about that. What we are going to worry about is that when we jump in the air, we hold the L button for the full duration of those 14 frames. And then when you release the L button, you'll see that I start accelerating. If I continue holding the L button, I just stay at a fixed speed the whole time, so that's bad. You want to release the L button when the jump state changes to jump state 2, aka 14 frames on a grounded jump. Sometimes it's a little bit later if you ghetto jump, because you'll keep accelerating for a longer time. For now, we're just not going to worry about that because people understand that, I think. If you've ever done geothermal core ghetto jump at the top, you understand that. And if you haven't, then now you know how to do that. Just keep the L button held for like 3 or 4 frames longer. Alright, so at the peak of our jump, we release the L button and we start holding forward. We build speed. And we don't build that much speed. I'm holding all the way forward right now, and you'll see that I land not even at 16 speed. But if I press forward for 1 frame and then hold very slightly up, you see I build speed significantly faster. I actually hit the 16 speed cap pretty quickly, so my speed stops going up. If I do the same thing and I hold slightly to the side, I'll avoid the cap, and you can see that I gain 20 speed instead of not even 16. So those are pretty big speed differences, especially when you consider the fact that you can bunny hop or space jump or and keep that speed and then like accelerate more afterwards. So basically, when you L jump in this game, holding all the way up sucks. You don't get very much speed at all. Holding the top notch doesn't suck as bad. You can see I get to 17. So holding the top left or right notch, this one or this one, is better than holding straight forward, but you really want, ideally, to hold an angle more like this, which is the green area in the graphic up above. And you'll get significantly more speed. That time I hit the wall. But, you know. And then, unfortunately, if you hold all the way to the side, you don't gain any speed. So there's kind of like a Goldilocks range where you don't want to hold too close to the side, but you don't want to hold up too much either. You can get a feel for this angle pretty easily by playing long enough. So, those things out of the way, let's talk about something else that is relevant. So, all of that time, I had my save state on this frame here, and I would always hold up for one frame and then change my angle. And I'll show you what happens if I don't do that. So if I just change my angle immediately, I lose speed. If I'm holding the top right notch, or top left notch, I drop by 0.2 units, which is like not that bad. But if I hold the optimal notch, I'm gonna drop down to 9.4. I keep saying notch, this isn't actually a notch, but the optimal area on the analog stick. And the reason why that is because the frame you release L, it still has influence over your trajectory. So it kind of acts as if I was like holding L going forwards and then like veered off to the side, which slows you down. So that means that if we're doing an L jump in this game, when we change from jump state 1 to jump state 2, we have to be holding forward and then go to our position on the notch, or on the analog stick that we want to go to. And if you think about it, that's fine for a TAS. You can move in one frame from all the way up to a very specific spot down here with relative ease and keep all your speed. But for non-TAS, it's going to be more like, you know, you slowly rock the analog stick into spot. And not only is that kind of hard to do, it's very easy to overshoot your desired position and start holding straight to the side, which means you don't accelerate at all. But also it's just kind of messy and like there's more room for error. So what is the point of this video then? Well, if you jump in the air and while you're still in jump state 1, so here it's literally like a frame after I leave the ground, if I press the R button, it locks my trajectory in this direction in a way reminiscent of if I let go of L. So effectively this removes the need to be holding the direction I'm going when the jump state changes from 1 to 2, aka 14 frames after the jump, aka when I let go of L. So pretty much, if you run forward in this game and jump, press R, and then immediately just move the stick to where you want it to be, and then release on the same frame that you would otherwise, you can buffer holding the angle you want to hold. So I'm not very practiced at this because like I don't play this game non-TAS, so my demonstration's not going to be perfect, but I'll try and do it. I forget if I mentioned in this recording or not, but my game's not running at full speed, so it's kind of hard. But so the idea, I'll just go over the inputs real quick. So walk forward, jump and press R, right? And then once the R button's pressed, you can do whatever you want with the analog stick. You can see I can like neutral stick and I just keep all my speed. So when you jump and press R, you want to move to the notch immediately. Roll the analog stick or just kind of like move it however it gets you there most comfortably. And then when you release the L button, you'll already be holding that direction, which just takes out like all of the complexity in place of like some weird extra button presses, like pressing the R button. But they're going to be more consistent, and the analog stick complexity is just not the same. So I messed that one up, but as you can see on the other attempt, I got it. Yeah. So this R jump, like, it's kind of hard for me at least. I know that if you're good at R jumps, you don't have to use this method to make this. I don't want to make that claim. Oh, I fucked that one up. I'm probably gonna die. Yeah. So, yeah, this isn't required, but if you're learning the game specifically, I think that this is an important trick to have like in your arsenal, because it does reduce the complexity, and it is technically more optimal. You will get more distance objectively if you use this method, but if you're good at the other method, like, the difference isn't going to be big. It's just going to be enough that, like, I don't know. I think it's a good safety net. And if you just watch, again, I'm not great at playing this game non-TAS, so I'm not practiced at doing this, but you just have a quarter second longer to find the spot on the analog stick that you want to hold before, like, it influences your speed if you're not already there. And yeah, it's definitely worth knowing. Even if you're not going to do this method, just knowing that after you L jump you want to hold more to the side than you do up is important. Also, for just to end this video off, bonus content, when you're doing the jump in Geothermal Core to skip the final spinner, if you ever have problems with that jump, it's because you're not holding the analog stick in the right spot. Pretty plain and simple. You want to L jump backwards and move. Oh, I messed it up there, because again, take my word for it, don't take my demonstration. But as you can see, you L jump backwards, and instead of holding this notch here, you want to hold more like that. You can see the difference between those two. You'll get significantly more speed and also turn faster, which is ideal in pretty much every situation where speed is more important than position. The faster you turn, the faster you're going to avoid the forward speed cap, cutting off your acceleration. Yeah, hopefully that explained everything that needed to be explained. Sorry if this video is just kind of like, what would be the word? It's really fast. I'm trying to get everything out in a timely manner because my internet speed sucks, and this is going to take like an hour to upload if it's any longer than 5 minutes. So, good luck, and you should add this to your arsenal if you play the game competitively. It's really useful, and it's technically more optimal than a non-TAS player will ever do an R-jump any other method. But I think it's also easier if you get used to it.